Black Hoteliers Part 2. Do you know any Black hotel owners? Well, I just attended a summit called the Hospitality Hued Summit in New Orleans, and I'm going to talk about some of my key takeaways. So, I'm someone who is getting into the hotel and hospitality industry, and I wanted to find out like where are the Black people who are doing this at the highest level. I found two organizations. One is Hospitality Hued, and that's a conference that I attended in New Orleans just last week. Another one is called NABHOOD, or the National Association for Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers. I attended their conference a few weeks ago in Miami. I've already done a video about that one, so if you haven't seen that video, check that one out. I will link to that in the description here. So I am Dr. Kathryn Sophia Belle. I had a 20-year successful career in academia. I had tenure. I was an associate professor of philosophy with affiliate faculty status in women's studies and Africana studies. I was also an administrator, and I resigned/retired from that after 20 years in 2023. And so now I focus on my business, La Belle Academy. On the kind of business professional side of that, I support Black women and women of color academics who want to navigate being in academia, get their writing done, get tenure and promotion, rise through the ranks of the professorate. And I also support those who want to strategically exit academia, because I did both. I was successful when I was in it, and I was successful in exiting it, right? So that's more on the kind of business professional side. On the more interpersonal side of La Belle Academy, I support Black women who want to be happily unmarried, delightfully divorced, and erotically empowered, right? And so me entering into the hotel and hospitality industry through Belle's Bed and Breakfast, Belle's Boutique Hotel, I really see that as an extension of the work that I'm already doing with La Belle Academy, right? So I foresee being able to host writing retreats, reading retreats, resting retreats for professors, writers, professionals, entrepreneurs, creatives, people who want a sacred space to do the work that they're doing, and also want to be cared for and seen and heard and understood and validated, right? Again, on the professional side, on the interpersonal side, I also want to host retreats for happily unmarried and delightfully divorced and being more erotically empowered, right? So again, I see the Belle's Boutique Hotel Bed and Breakfast as an extension of the work that I'm already doing through La Belle Academy, and I'm just being intentional about being in spaces who are doing what I'm looking to do at a high level. So that is where we come to, again, this Hospitality Hued Summit, right? I do want to pair this with another video that I saw on another channel. And so the channel is called Official Black Wall Street. The video is 20 Black-owned hotel and resorts around the world. And so I will also link to that video here because, again, it's very powerful for me to see people who are already doing this thing as inspiration and motivation as I build the thing that I want to build, right? Okay, so let's get into these highlights from the Hospitality Hued Summit. Okay, so one of the panels was a procurement panel. I found this very helpful to think about things like vendors and suppliers and how and from whom we source the things that we need in the hotel and hospitality industry. And so there were people who were talking about just different social enterprises or working with vendors and suppliers who are really intentional about like how they source things or how they help the community and things like that. So that was a great and helpful panel. There was a panel on being an owner and being a leader, or like being a leader as a hotel owner, and lots of helpful information about how hotel owners and leaders approach those roles, but also some helpful information on how to approach leadership as a hotel owner. And they also talked about different challenges and how they go about navigating and negotiating those challenges. Again, the statistic that, okay, so out of all of the hotel owners in the U.S., only 2% or less than 2% are Black hotel owners, and less than 1% are Black women hotel owners. So that statistic was also raised. They also noted that Black folks tend to make up about, or statistically make up about 40% of employees at hotels in terms of being like hourly wage earners versus being developers and owners. So that was, again, helpful information to think about, how are we in the industry and what area of the industry, do we find ourselves in statistically. There were conversations about working with the relationship between the hotel owner and the general manager when they are not one and the same. So that was helpful. and desirable skills that you want in your leadership team. Again, all very helpful information. There was an interesting conversation around accountability, taking accountability again in a leadership position, but also helping team members take accountability in the roles that they're playing. The importance of communication. They talked about some of the other hotel industry conferences that are available, but I feel like I found the best two with Hospitality Hued Summit and NAB. Let's see, there were more panels on just general management, whether again you were the actual general manager or if you had a third or hired a third party general manager. Again, helpful information. There was a session on like marketing and visibility and social media and things like that, and the importance of being visible, telling your story, being consistent in how you show up, the importance of authenticity, showing up as your true self, and how that really helps you connect with people in your target audience. Like there's a woman I've worked with named Arlen Hamilton who has a saying, be who you are so the people looking for you can find you. And so that came to mind when I was in this session. And the importance of emphasizing like your unique experience, your unique point of view, and again, your authenticity. Something else that they emphasized in this session, and this was also a cross session, is the importance of systems. I also just did a video on the Greater Savannah Black Chamber of Commerce that you can also check out. Well, this Greater Savannah Black Chamber of Commerce, and particularly their Black Business Expo that I attended. And I did a kind of top takeaways from the Black Business Expo as well. And that was one of the top takeaways there, the importance of building systems, having systems in place, having a standard operating procedure, and those kinds of things. So that was reinforced at this summit as well. They talked about going back to authenticity in your unique viewpoint, the importance of telling your stories. And again, that is a top takeaway and key theme that also came up at NAB in the video that I also posted from NAB. There was a really beautiful panel, again, all valuable and helpful information in all of the panels. Some just really kind of got at your heartstrings in different kinds of ways, or just, resonated in different kind of ways. So there was a session called Community Can't Wait with Dr. Lakeisha Hallman. And Dr. Lakeisha Hallman is author of No One is Self-Made, Build Your Village to Flourish in Business and in Life. And so this was an excellent session because she talked about her own experience with building this village, like this marketplace in Atlanta, Georgia. So I believe they have one marketplace in the Ponce Market, which is one of the most popular markets in Atlanta, and they also have another location. But was really powerful to me about this panel. I mean, overall, she was just a very dynamic and powerful speaker. Just gave a lot of reverence and honoring to her family and the legacy of her family and what they instilled in her. But she's someone who also came from education and then went into entrepreneurship. So again, for me, as somebody who's going from academia and into entrepreneurship, it was helpful to hear that story, right? And that goes back to, again, the authenticity in the stories. It was helpful for me to hear her story in terms of how she took the skills that she had in education as a teacher and working for the Georgia Department of Education. I think she also worked for before going into entrepreneurship. So one of the questions that I asked her as I'm thinking about these things for myself and really positively reinforcing them for myself is the reminder that even if you're changing industries or changing from like one, again, for me going from academia into entrepreneurship and the hotel industry, I'm not starting from baseline. I'm not starting from zero, right? So I still have the 20 years of experience and expertise as a professor, as a teacher, as an administrator, running budgets, as an event planner, right? Because I created a lot of initiatives. I hosted a lot of conferences and symposia and other kinds of events, right? So all of those are valuable and transferable skills that I'm taking with me. I'm a great communicator. I'm a great writer. So all of these things, these are skill sets that and strengths that I have from my 20 years in academia that I'm bringing with me into these other industries that I'm entering into and that I'm like literally creating. So we had a wonderful conversation about how you take the experience and expertise with you wherever you go. You're never starting from zero. So that was a great conversation with her as well. And just emphasis on community, and doing business in a different way. Right? Like everything doesn't have to constantly feed into capitalism. I mean, we live in a capitalist society, but there are ways in which we can push back against that. And part of that is, again, building community, being intentional about how we source things and things like that. So that was a great session. She talked about building your company to build community. She talked about not using the same mentality as what bell hooks would call the white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchal oppressors, right? And she also talked about just trusting spirit, trusting intuition, trusting alignment, right? And this, of course, resonated with me because I'm constantly talking about a lot of the moves that I've made in my life have literally been about me trusting my intuition, trusting spirit, trusting what feels aligned, and trusting when something doesn't feel aligned, that it's time for me to walk away from that thing, even if from the outside looking in, it looks really good, right? So that's true for me in my decision to become happily unmarried and delightfully divorced. From the outside looking in, it looked fabulous. From the inside, it was very much misaligned for me. And same for academia. I was very successful in the academy. I was promoted to associate professor. I was about to get promoted to full professor. I would have gotten that promotion because I had my second book out, which was what was required for, I'd finished that second book that I needed to get promotion to full professor. And it just wasn't aligned for me. And I knew it was what, like I often say, the ancestors told me not only to get out, but to get out now. And I listened, right? So for her to talk about trusting spirit and intuition and alignment resonated a lot for me, because that is how I've lived my life up to this point, or I've practiced living my life that way. I've gotten better at it in more recent years. You know, something that was a little, you know, there's an ebb and flow to it. There's an ebb and flow to it. But anyway, I was glad that she emphasized that. She also talked about learning from mistakes and continuing to trust yourself even after a mistake. And I love this because I actually and so part of La Belle Vie Academy, I have several course suites. One of the course suites is for high achievers. And one of the classes within the course suite for high achievers is about your fears and this idea of the issue of perfectionism, the issue of, self-doubt, what some people call imposter syndrome, even though I don't really like that language, as well as failing faster and surrendering to success, right? So I literally just sent down an email to the members of La Belle Vie writers that course is available now. And so again, this also resonated with some of the things that I emphasize in that High Achievers course suite, in that class in particular on fear. She talked about leaning into your gifts, like identifying your gifts and allowing your gifts to enhance your organization, and also as you're building your team, allowing your team members to play to their gifts and their strengths, right? Like I've done some personality assessments before, and one of my favorite ones is Strengths Finder. And what I like about Strengths Finder is that it emphasizes, like, once you identify your strengths, focus on your strengths. A lot of times we think like, well, I'm strong in this area and I'm not so strong in this area, so I need to develop the area I'm not strong in. And their philosophy, or at least how I interpret their philosophy, is like, no, lean hard into your strengths and you can build up a team for the areas that you're not strong in. Like that's what you need other team members for, but you don't need to try to be everything to everybody. So when she talks about identifying your gifts and letting your gifts contribute to what you're building, that's one of the things that I thought about there. We talked about the transferable skills. She talked a lot about collaboration again. She emphasizes the village and the community and collaboration and not trying to do everything yourself. And again, letting everybody play to what their strengths are, but also the importance of clarity when you're collaborating. So there are very clear expectations about who's doing what by when and those kinds of things. So that was a great session. Another great session that was there was a wellness session. And again, I want to just shout out, I should say the founder of Hospitality Hued is Ashli Johnson. And she just is a phenomenal person. You could tell that there was just a lot of intention and love and care put into how she organized this space. NABHOOD is the other conference that I did the video on. They've been around for like 29 years. That's a bigger space. Also valuable, but just different energy and different vibe. And there were some overlaps between the two organizations. But this was just such a beautifully, carefully curated space and community. The speakers, the attendees, like everything about it was just really beautifully done. So I say that to say, like, there was also there was a wellness session, right? And one of the things that was discussed was the premature deaths of, folks, and of Black folks in particular in this industry, from stress, from, all the things just all the things that come with being in a high stress energy. So again, this resonated for me because I see parallels between this is also interesting, right? Like, again, most of my experience is from academia, but whenever I engage in other spaces that are not strictly academic spaces, I can see the overlaps between how these industries are operating and the impact that they're having on Black folks and Black women in particular, right? So again, I'm coming out of academia. There are plenty of Black women who died prematurely in academia, right? Or even people that I work on, like I'm working on a book now on Audre Lorde and her philosophy, and she's someone who died very young. I think at like 59 was the age Audre Lorde was when she died of cancer. Bell Hooks recently passed away in the last couple of years, right? June Jordan. There have been all of these people who have died premature deaths. I think in part as a result of just the oppressive systems that we operate in more broadly, and then like in the academy in particular. But I see that that also is an issue in the hotel and hospitality industry. It's also an issue in the tech industry. Like last year I attended the Afro Tech conference, and there were similar conversations around like Black women in tech that I've had around like Black women in philosophy in the academy, for example, right? So there was a session on wellness with the emphasis on, we really do have to be more intentional about taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, and not literally like giving until it hurts, or giving until we're literally dead. So they mentioned several people who have died in the last few years who were leaders in this industry, and a lot of it was from like stress related illnesses and things like that. So I appreciated her being intentional about having that session on wellness that wasn't just about like manicures and pedicures, even though there's nothing wrong with that, but like really going deeper with our overall health and wellness. And again, I connect this to, of course, Audre Lorde is the person who's often thought about with the notion of self-care, because of her quote about caring for ourselves is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation, and that's an act of political warfare. Within the High Achievers course suite that I just mentioned, where I have the session on your fears, I also have a health and a wellness and self-care course in there where I dig deeper into what Audre Lorde was talking about, because Audre Lorde is literally dealing with a potential cancer diagnosis when she gives that quote, what I call like the Pinterest version of the quote about caring for ourselves being an act of political warfare, but it's often taken out of context, that like she's literally dealing with a potential cancer diagnosis when she gives this talk at the Modern Language Association at MLA. So that's like the wellness and self-care part of it. There are also sessions on people who are just really champions in this industry, trying to do the right thing and being intentional again, and how they're building their businesses and how they're building their community. Again, more helpful information about franchising, again, as I think about going more independent or going with a brand or going with a franchise. So more brands were represented there. It talked about the benefits of going with a brand. And so gave me lots of things to think about. And again, I met some great people to talk about some of these things with moving forward. Let's see. Again, an emphasis on building relationships. There was also a powerful panel on loving New Orleans. Again, the summit was held in New Orleans, but an emphasis on, how do we be intentional about giving to and contributing to the communities that we're visiting and not just extracting from those communities. And so there was a panel with different Black and women owned, Black women and queer owned businesses in New Orleans. And so I thought, again, that was very powerful and intentional, and I appreciated them having that panel. There was a panel on, again, franchising and ownership, and just some questions to think about in terms of like, where's your money coming from? What is your plan in terms of your business plan? What is your vision? What is your why? And having that kind of front and center with what you're building and how you're building it. And let's see. And then they had a great session on at the end, a kind of wrap-up session where we were invited to like really write down like not just our takeaways, but our action items. So it was very helpful too. A lot of times we'll go to a space, we write down all these notes, we feel all inspired, and then you leave and then you forget, like, you just get right back into like business as usual. So it was helpful for me at the end of that summit to be able to take some time to write down like, okay, these are my action items that I actually want to move forward after I leave here. And so that was great. And I already did one of the action items, which was to join the LinkedIn group. So I already did that, and I have several others that are here. But that is it. Those are my key takeaways. Again, these were not as distilled as the other ones because I literally went through my different pages and notes, but it's been helpful for me to kind of recap that for myself. Again, I hope it's helpful for you. I appreciate those of you who are following me on this journey. I'm happy to share the journey with you as I go. I am going to include a landing page in the description for people who want to join my email list to get more updates on this as I continue to build and as it continues to grow and flourish. Also a reminder, if you're not subscribed, to subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you like and comment on this. What's coming up for you? Are you interested in are you watching this because you're interested in the hotel industry, or are you just interested in maybe changing industries, like you're in one profession or one industry and you're looking to do something that looks different but feels very related to you, or may feel very different to you? Let me know what resonates with you, what you're curious about, what experiences you may be having with this. And like I said, if you want to see the NABHood video, then I would watch that one if you haven't already watched that one. And I also mentioned my Black Business Expo video. If you haven't watched that, that would be another one, related one to watch. And again, in all of these spaces, exit strategies has been coming up a lot. And so I think the next video that I'm going to do is going to be on exit strategies. And particularly, I want to talk about, and I've gestured at this a little bit already, but how people in academia really aren't encouraged to think about their exit strategies. And I think it's important that we do that. I think clearly other industries are thinking about that, because I've been in multiple conferences at this point where they've emphasized exit strategies, but it's not something that was emphasized, at least for me as an academic. And so I want to do a video on exit strategies in particular. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you.